Howard from Bali Beginnings, and today I'm with our fantastic clinical director, Simone, psychologist from Italy, did his master's in Germany, worked at a few other rehabs around the world before joining us. So I guess my first question for you, we'll go a bit more in depth about you on another video or someone else will, is what drew you to apply to work with us?
Well, as you know, I originally came to Bali because I wanted to travel a little bit around the Southeast Asia, and I was working exclusively as an online therapist. Um, I was coming from Portugal, where I was working for another rehabilitation center. And when I originally met you, I came to Bali Beginnings, and you were somehow rebuilding it after the volcano
COVID.
and after COVID
That
and so
time.
on. And I noticed you had something in your eyes. I think that was the passion and the fire to change other people's life as much as you changed your own one, and your best friends and your family efforts and everything else. So I felt that there was really this sort of drive within yourself, and I thought, oh, how interesting. That feels slightly different than the business idea. This feels more personal, as in your life mission somehow. And I talked to you. I got to know you. I originally started to work with you just with the aftercare team and so on. And the more I got to know you, and the more we shared insights and helped other people, I really felt that I wanted to share that passion. I wanted to be a part of it. And that slowly but very intensely became my meaning and purpose, I would say, in life, not only professionally.
Yeah. And I'd say you're now, in some ways, a bigger part than me. You're certainly a bigger part in the fantastic outcomes we have with the clients on a daily basis. I would say, as I want to, more of my energy is shifting, and as I want to, I'm looking at how can the industry be better? How can we change things like we did with medical standards, 24/7 medical supervision, policies, procedures, like we're doing with aftercare, as you said you first started on. Now we've made 24 months instead of 12 months, all inclusive, and things like that. I would say you make the impact on the day-to-day, which allows me my passion, the thing that really excites me about how can we make this monumental shift in an industry that I feel is stagnant and is in need of change. So I guess next question springing to mind would be, ignoring us, what is your opinion of the industry on the whole with your experience working in it?
Absolutely. Well, that's a very good question. And I think that to answer that, I need as well to praise a little bit the work that we are doing, because the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, but it is connection. And sobriety is a beautiful consequence. Now, I'm very happy and I thank you for the nice words on myself, but I think that to create that meaningful connection, there has to be the work of the whole team. And this is something that really entangles everybody at Bali Beginnings, from the chef to the nurses to the recovery coaches to myself, the other therapists, and so on. But I think that what really does make the difference on a rational level is definitely the qualification of the people. I would say myself, I'm very qualified to do what I am doing. The other therapist, Gabi, as you know, she's very qualified as well. The recovery coaches are really driven, and we have a strong support network. We have a medical team that they know what they're doing. They're able to connect with the human beings, and I think that I must say, although this might might sound not very nice for other people in Bali, I see that very often in this island there are people like life coaches and so on that want to become addiction therapists or act as a psychotherapist or clinical psychologist and so on. And I think it is very tricky to do that, because something that could cost you more than therapy is doing bad therapy,
Absolutely.
and that can really hurt you. So when you're dealing with addiction, you need to understand that there's most of the time a lot of comorbidity with other personality issues and other pathologies, and they need to be dealt with very carefully with the help of the team, with supervision, and with a structured therapeutic plan. So I think that what is really strong in Bali Beginnings is the cooperation of more domains working together to obtain a meaningful and significant result. Does that answer your question?
It does, although I can't remember my question. I think it does. But I would actually flex slightly on your answer because I've met a lot of qualified people that are very good psychologists, psychiatrists, nurses, doctors, whatever. I'm not discrediting you guys, but they don't understand addiction. So one of my biggest pain points, we did fantastically well with Dr. Terry, Scott before him, Dr. Terry, you, Gabby, is finding people who understand addiction as best as anyone can who hasn't lived it, who understand the insanity of why I keep doing this behavior that I don't want to do, that normal people don't quite get, because it's like, well, why don't you stop? You know, and the comments I have heard over the years in the medical industry, you know, which I feel is a bit institutionalized, partly being passed on and passed on, it shows me they don't have an understanding. And that's not a judgment, right? Even doctors get 7 years to train. Well, how much time have they got to train on every aspect of the human body, of the mind? There's just not enough time to do it. But I'd say the biggest thing you and Gabby, Dr. Terry, and the people I've been blessed to find is the not just the clinical skill, but actually the level of understanding of addiction and the nuances that come about it, the shame, how to work with the shame, therapeutic techniques and things like that. And coming back to your scary point, I remember learning this in counseling school in COVID, when COVID shut us down. My wife started studying psychology. Me and her both did evening school in counseling, person-centered counseling. What was shocking to me was how you don't need anything to call yourself a therapist in the UK. You don't even need 1 day's training to call yourself a therapist and advertise as a therapist. And speaking with the tutor, how many bad people, sometimes with the right intent, but how many not good enough, I think is a better term, not good enough people are out there doing the work, acting as therapists who shouldn't. It's somewhat scary. You know, we're heavily regulated by Google, by Facebook, and other people. Therapist isn't, generally speaking. You could just put an advert tomorrow as a therapist on Facebook and no need to back it up. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I see where you're coming from, and I have to agree with that. You see, a lot of people see the addiction just as a neurological disease and as a coping strategy, right? And therefore, you just focus on rebuilding new neural pathways. That is what is triggering you to use. And now we're just trying to do yoga, journaling, other emotional regulation techniques and strategies. And so you can fix the problem. So next time you're going to get triggered, you're going to do this instead of that one. And I think that could backfire if you don't do the deeper work. Now, that deeper work comes from, for me personally, and I have a lot of conversations with Gabby as well about that. We do weekly supervision with other therapists as well to make sure that we're actually working, tracking the therapeutic progresses with the clients, which is another strength, I think, in our team. But you see, we come back to the meaningful connection that we talked about before and the need to create a therapeutic relationship before working on anything else. Now, Carl Jung, which is one of the father of psychoanalysis, used to say that the addiction is strongly rooted in the childhood of human beings because the child starts crying inwards when he perceives that there's no one in his environment that could hold those emotions, right? And so he starts crying inwards, developing a sense of what Carl Jung called eternal longing. Now, that eternal longing is like a huge void that the adult is going to fill in with a substance or with whatsoever other addictive behavior. That could be also eating disorders, right?
course,
Of
gambling, sex,
gambling, sex,
workaholism, 100 different dysfunctions.
the eternal longings, and I'm gonna fill that void with something that feels extremely good,
Oh yeah,
right?
instant gratification, instantly fixes the pain for a little while.
Absolutely. For a little while, exactly. But you need delayed gratification, right? And so, coming back to what we were saying in the work of Carl Jung, it becomes essential to create a safe space in which that inner child in our clients can cry, and can express those negative emotions, because you cannot cope with anything that you haven't recognized and accepted yet, right? So
Yeah.
you want to create that safe space, which comes as in a therapeutic relationship for you to tell me exactly what is going on, and eventually, why are you using? And that why are you using means, what is the substance doing for me?
Yeah.
Right? He's taking away the pain, he's numbing the pain, or he's helping me grieving, or is giving me a quick fix in a social setting because most likely I lack self-medication and so on. So you want to create that safe environment in which all of this can come up. And now we're also working on new coping strategies and emotional regulation and recognizing the triggers.
Okay, well, that's brilliant, and so much I could go off on there, including a lot of my own history. I guess I would lean into, and this doesn't market well, this doesn't sell places well. In fact, if anything, it puts people off. But I'm here to say the things that I think need to be said. Is yes, we are very good at creating a safe space, I feel. In fact, our evidence shows that, and our success rate shows that. But coming to what you said about crying, we are also a space to challenge you, and a space where we allow people to be frustrated, sad, upset, angry without aggression. Anger's okay, aggression's not. But I think what we do well is, because we are challenging and our boundaries are strict and challenging, they also allow people space to cry and get through those things and feel those things and experience those things in a safe space where you can get help, support, coping mechanisms taught to you to deal with them, as opposed to the opposite, a holiday camp where you're happy all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Because, yeah, all good and well, we could sit you around the pool and just do a bit of yoga every day, go to the gym, have nice meals, which we do, have smoothies, which we do, but not do the challenging part. And you're not going to get the therapeutic value of that challenging part. In fact, I shared this earlier with someone. Jimmy Carr, I think, says it. One of my favorite sayings at the minute: you can't have a strong character and an easy life. One is a sacrifice for the other. You can't come to rehab. In fact, I've saved this as a video to it. You can't have an easy journey and build meaningful change. The meaningful change comes from the challenge, what you learn from it.
Absolutely. Well, this is very beautiful, and that's a law of the universe that we often resist as human beings. Diamond is one of the strongest elements because it's constantly exposed to heat and pressure. Otherwise, there would be no difference than a piece of glass. The immune system, how does that get better? Well, he contracts a virus or whatsoever, then he defeats it, and now leveled up. The muscles at the gym, how do they grow? Well, you have to break them. You have to break the fibers. Then when they recover, because you feed them with good ingredients, proteins, minerals. Now
So
they're
you
stronger
push them and feed them.
Correct. Now, what you're saying is it's very important, and I think that I also said in the video that we have at Bali Beginnings on YouTube, is that the magic you're looking for is in the work you are avoiding. Well, substance abuse disorder and avoidance pattern are very intertwined. You avoid negative emotions or whatsoever feels uncomfortable most of the time because you do not have the emotional regulation tools, or because you're choosing instant gratification over delayed gratification. Why do I have to deal with that when I can just numb it? Well, then it comes back stronger.
That's it. And you're training your brain not to know how. That's the other thing that comes around. You're actually reinforcing, I don't know how to cope with it. Whereas actually, when I sit, I'm angry, the recovery coach challenged me on that behavior. I was late for a group again, and I held everyone up by 5 minutes, which
Absolutely.
doesn't serve me on the outside well because I piss people off, especially at work and things.
Absolutely.
So the recovery coach challenged me on that behavior, and I feel angry.
Yeah.
But you know what? If I sit with that, it'll pass.
Yeah.
If someone says, "Well, why do you feel angry?" If we explore that,
Yeah.
well, I feel angry because I felt shown up in front of the group. Okay, so it wasn't your anger. Okay, what's the solution to that?
Absolutely.
Be on time. Be on time, and you don't have to feel that way, And that comes
Absolutely.
from, I'm digressing a bit, but feeling those things is training ourselves that they will pass and how to cope with them and making them less intense.
Absolutely.
Whereas the alcohol, particularly for my mum, with the social anxiety, she got so bad she couldn't leave the house without a drink when I was young. And every time she got this fear and anxiety, she had a drink and it calmed down. So she trained herself. I can't cope sitting like this. So it got worse and worse and worse till, I need this drink to calm it, until the point it got so bad. She had panic attacks all day long. And within a month of getting sober, years of panic attacks stopped.
Absolutely.
But it's training one way or another. The relying on a substance to fix that is training our brain that we can't cope with this, can't cope with this. The
Absolutely.
solution is, in a healthy way, some things obviously need a bit more help, but in a healthy way, the answer is sitting with this discomfort and then learning healthy techniques, delayed gratification techniques that don't always work straight away, but
Yeah.
work over time, that you train over time, is the solution to that, the meaningful, healthy solution to that.
Absolutely. Well, I always say that the therapeutical work has three main steps, self-awareness, self-acceptance, and constant work.
Yes.
All right. Well, of course, you cannot change anything that you haven't accepted. So self-acceptance is important. Of course, you cannot even accept it if you're not aware of what is going on. But it is also fair to say that awareness without practice doesn't take you very far.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
I had the same conversation with a guy in a recovery group this morning. He said, I just realized I got low self-worth, kind of thing. That's the fast forward version. I said, that's fantastic because you're aware. I became aware a few years in of how much low self-worth was driving my behavior and my need to change and improve things and be
Absolutely.
successful. And until I was aware, I couldn't do anything on it.
Yeah.
And the second point, like you said, I used the example, well, now you have to. The real sickness isn't not knowing about it. The real sickness, so to speak, is knowing about it and not doing something about it. That's a real sad place to be.
Absolutely.
But now you know about it, you can work on it. And it's not easy or linear, but you can get there. And to come to the last point, Carl, who recorded a podcast with us the other day, spoke about, I can't remember if it was on the podcast, he spoke about instead of mental health, we should use mental fitness. Because it's like the gym, right? If I go to the gym, I can build up my fitness and build up my fitness. And then I just need to maintain, which doesn't need the same work as getting to that fit place, that mentally fit place. But it needs maintenance, because if I don't maintain, just like my gym or my physical health, my healthy eating, I regress. I don't sit still. I stagnate like water. Water stagnates, it becomes poisonous. My mental health stagnates if I don't continue to practice the things that got it well. My physical health stagnates if I don't eat healthy most of the time, go to the gym fairly regularly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yes, as you were saying, the safe space is absolutely necessary as much as creating a challenging environment that somehow helps you developing that delay gratification over instant gratification, that frustration tolerance, new emotional regulation skills that actually work. And that is only possible if you go and you embrace all the work that you were once avoiding.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I guess actually thinking it out loud, while some of this isn't very marketable, doesn't sell, great. If we rule out people who aren't ready for us, like I wasn't ready for change, what we are left with is people coming to us who are more ready, which is why we don't take people who don't want
We
to
don't
do
want
the
to
work
change.
for the good of the group more
Mhm.
than and so we don't waste their money, but mainly for the good of the group to create the healthiest group we can with a desire to change. And you know what? So if you're listening to this and you're pissed off, I'm sorry, and I was there. I spent fucking years not being willing enough, not being hungry, sadly, or desperate enough, or trying to do it my way before I was broken enough for change. And I would say if that's challenging your thinking, good,
Yeah,
good.
absolutely. Well, I have also worked with with clients that told me, well, I went to a rehabilitation program before, but I wasn't ready for change, and I lied or I hold back. So now I'm really, really keen on going full in
Yeah,
and be authentic and share what is really going on with you and your team, and you know that is intrinsic motivation to change. This is something that I talked to the recovery coaches as well during our clinical supervision meeting. Right, we work with something that is called the theory of the model of change.
yeah, yeah. I was thinking of that as you were speaking.
Right, there are
Yeah,
different stages of change. This is the pre-contemplation stage, the contemplation stage,
thinking
the
about it.
action. Exactly, I'm going
Action.
to do something, and then there is strengthening the commitment to change, which is why we have decided to extend the aftercare program to 2 years. And it's fantastic, honestly, to see people that after 1 year they have finally created again a meaningful life. And they're saying, can I just keep showing up in these sessions? Saying, yeah, you have to. What
Yeah,
did you find
please.
in these sessions? Well, I found meaningful connections. I found people. I found yourself. That feels obviously quite flattering, when a client is telling you, I connected really very well on a therapeutical level. So yeah, just please come every week. 3 group sessions per week. It's a lot,
Yeah,
and that strengthens the commitment to change. But sometimes there are people that come to rehab that it looks like they are in the action stage because they went to rehab, but maybe they're still thinking, maybe I can learn how to use with
control.
moderation, how to control
Like
the
me when I went to recovery groups at
right.
first. Yeah, exactly
And
like
how
me.
do you understand that? Well, you really have to connect with the human beings, and you have to challenge them as well.
That's where the connection helps and the challenging the thinking. If you have
Right.
someone around there just putting their arm around you, they're there. No, it was okay. It was
Right.
okay you did that. It was
Mhm.
okay you lost your family. You'll get it back. Don't worry about your job.
Yeah.
You have someone saying, okay, why did you lose your job?
Oh
What's going
yeah.
to promote change?
Yeah.
Me putting their arm around them, or actually me loving someone enough to tell them the truth?
Absolutely.
And as a people pleaser who doesn't want conflict, it's far easier for me to put my arm around you than to tell you what you
Then to
need to
tell it.
hear.
Yeah.
I don't like that. It's not in my
Absolutely.
nature.
Yeah, and I think that is where it becomes essential to have qualified therapists,
Mm.
because
How to
you
break it.
you really have to listen and you have to work on cognitive distortions and cognitive dissonances. There's some people that in my many years of addiction therapy, in the same sentence, they might tell you, I cannot stop using by myself, but also I'm not an alcoholic or I'm not an addict, and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
that's a hell of a cognitive dissonance. All right. Well, there's two opposite things. So you have to highlight that. You have to challenge the client.
Exactly.
And how do I do that in a way that doesn't undermine the connection?
Mm.
So I have to do it at the right time after I've created the right setting. And there's a lot of study behind that. And I think it's essential, once again, to challenge the clients to transition eventually from one stage to the other of the
Stage.
model of change.
Absolutely. And something you said there is interesting. I had a chat the other night with someone who worked at another rehab, and he was complaining about the therapist and
Mhm,
psychologist. He's just
mhm,
in recovery, works essentially as a recovery coach, but they call it a different thing. And he said, "Oh, all they talk about is trauma-informed talk, and we can't say this, we
mhm.
can't say that." And it sounds like perhaps they don't have the right people who understand addiction. But this is where I said to him, I had to challenge his thinking a bit, or didn't have to, I chose to. He was very good about it. Said, where they also have a place is understanding human behavior. So it's like, okay, I need to challenge a client on this, but how do I challenge
How
him?
do I
Well,
challenge?
don't say that because he's this personality type. That won't go down. Let's approach it this way. So sometimes how we approach or phrase things or deal with situations may be slightly different. Boundaries are boundaries. Our rules are our rules. They're very clear. They have to be equal for everyone. But maybe the way we talk to them, the time we talk to them, what do we do? How many people? Which setting is is a lot governed by you and Gabby and the experienced members of the team who understand those nuances of the actual human behavior that recovery coaches don't. Yeah, we bring a lot of passion and experience, but that's where the blend comes together. Using the knowledge you have on personality types, behaviors, combined with the lived experience. I think that's the real value of combining the two. I think the sum of its parts is far greater than itself. So I don't think just psychologists, psychotherapists alone has as much value, or just recovery coaches alone has as much value as a good balance of the two combined exponentially grows.
Absolutely. It's essential and it's the work of the whole team. You know, I always say to the recovery coaches that they don't have to be a therapist of the clients. They have to create, though, a safe space where everything can be told and everything will be tolerated without necessarily working on it, but create that meaningful connection. And it's interesting to see how that happens very often at Bali Beginnings. And sometimes I have the clients in the aftercare, you know, at the end of the one-on-ones, that wants to know how is, you know, uh, Jess or the recovery coaches in general, without making any names.
Except the ones we mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah,
But yeah,
exactly. But they want to know how they're doing because that they created a very good connection,
yeah,
and that's essential. Yes, and in during the interactions with the recovery coaches, topics emerge. Then the clinical supervision meetings, in which the recovery coaches eventually report without disclosing too much personal information in front of all the group. They report to me what's going on, and then we can actually work on it or somehow shape the therapeutic
yes,
progress
yes, yes.
into that. Yeah, maybe this part. Yeah.
And that is the, sadly, I think, slightly scary part that we are doing extremely well. First is the industry that we've only recently improved. So after COVID, I'll give you a little bit of background on the philosophy and then what we do. After COVID, obviously, COVID shut down again, very challenging, reopen again, new ideas. Will people like aftercare? Will people be able to commit? Will us turning away any client who isn't willing to do the work and doesn't believe they have a problem, will that, cause us to go bankrupt? Is scary, but as we've got through and we've slowly started to fill, we've gone, okay, we're safe and stable, let's add a bit more. So we've constantly gone, just like you said about the analogy of the people, mental fitness. I do the same. Progress, not perfection. So we should constantly be progressing. So we've done one after another. You mentioned this year we've done, or back end of last year we made aftercare 2 years, no extra cost. We made it 2 years. We're just about to add a bit more. The biggest thing we've turned our focus on now, after improving bit after bit, is the recovery coaches themselves, and the whole clinical team, not just them, but the staff. And why the staff? This comes back. This is a philosophy. Comes to Simon Sinek. A guy called Simon Sinek worked, I believe, coaching or working with some seriously big CEOs. So the types of Microsoft, Apple's, like the biggest companies in the world. And he sat down with one of these people he shares on a podcast, and they said to him, "Now, what's your role?" And the CEO said, "My job's to look after the clients." And he said, "Bullshit." And the CEO went, "Eh? Eh?" That's the British guy. Maybe he didn't say "eh," but he went like, "What?" He was quite confronted, challenged actually. And he said, "When was the last time you spoke to a client?" And the CEO went, "Oh, geez," and kind of the penny started to click, or the cent, if you're not in England. He went, "Okay, look, no, that's okay." Simon said, "That's okay. But, you know, your job isn't to look after the clients. Your job is to look after the staff. Because if you look after the staff, they will look after the clients.
Of course.
And that is the philosophy with us improving so much and getting goosebumps. We're trying to do so much more for the recovery coaches and clinical team and the whole general staff. Our staff are the best paid for their roles on the island. They get the best care, best holidays. Our turnover is very low per industry, and much lower than the averages for the industry. And we've just added weekly training that's compulsory and paid for.
Yeah.
We were already doing weekly weekly group clinical supervision, learning from each other, growing, also paid for. We also have been offering and making it mandatory one-to-one supervision, also paid for. Everything is paid for. And the reason is we want to encourage people to attend, not everyone, because if it's their day off, as many as possible, you need to attend a high amount. But we do that because we want the healthiest, best trained staff we can get. Because the healthiest and best trained staff, not only is it good for their morale, well-being, support, structure, ultimately it best helps the clients. So the more we do for staff, the better results clients get.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you.
I went off on a bit of a
That's
tangent.
good. That's good. It's good. I love that. We're on the same page on that, and I see that daily. I interact with the team daily. There's not one day that passes without me checking in with them, whether it is via text or whatsoever. But I know, I follow, I lead the clinical team, and I know what's going on at all times. So
yeah. And other things people don't see, Dave behind the camera has been key in implementing. Shout out, Dave.
the man
I'm
himself.
looking at you. Is we've got a new, I don't know what it is called exactly. It's an app called ClickUp. The whole team has translated and migrated to. So why is this good for the clients? It gives us, rather than using a host of WhatsApp groups and a host of, Google Drives and this and that, other, it gives us a better platform for individual tracking, for group tracking. So recovery coaches, clinical team, operations team, better track for accountability, better track for everything. It makes us another level organized.
Absolutely.
And ultimately being another level organized will result in better benefit for the client. So, that's another way we've been looking to improve. Always,
Absolutely.
yeah, that is one thing I'm passionate about. And actually, one thing why I'm unfortunately having to move away from the stuff I like doing, working directly with clients, and look at my bigger purpose, passion is let's just be better. My coach is a good coach, says good, better, best. Don't let the good be the enemy of the great, which Dave will like very much because I'm always trying to do more content and he's always trying to do more high quality content. So he's like what I am in the rehab. He's like the same behind the scenes with the operations. Because at first I said, why do we need the system? We're doing okay. We're doing good. And that, comes back to my coach. Don't let the good be the enemy of the great.
Absolutely.
We can be good.
That's beautiful. And I think I have to agree with you and what David brought on board. It's somehow working and boosting efficiency constantly. How can we improve this? One of the things that David said to me one of the first time I met him is like, I come in to reduce the noise that is not needed, and there will always be a certain level of noise. Now we're working on reducing it as soon as it comes. And ClickUp and the implementation of all the work that David is putting in is to make sure that efficiency is reached and delivered in every domain of the business.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes it's the delivery of a single message that boosts delivery. How is that delivered? How is that taken? How can we maximize that?
Exactly. And if we have ultimately, just to throw some numbers out, 10% less messages a month, 10% less need to read them because we're efficient.
Absolutely.
Then that means the staff are slightly less tired, which may only be percent, but means they could give 1% to the clients more. Now, 1% may not be a lot, but when you do that with the structure, when you do that with the operations, when you do it with the recovery coach, when you go on and do, suddenly that 1% becomes 10%.
Well,
and that 10% becomes 20%, and it's
course.
making a meaningful change.
It's like a filter. If you think about it, how would your life be better if you would only receive the informations or the tasks that you can actually deal with?
Yes, yes, yes.
Rather than everything else that you actually don't need to know
Yeah.
because you can do anything about it. There's also a certain level of frustration.
Yeah.
Right.
And actually, I've had a complaint we've had from clients before, and I'm going to give you the reasons why, is, well, they've come on shift. Why don't they know about this thing that happened yesterday? And the reality, as I sat down and explained with her, the reality of every staff knowing every single thing would be monumentally huge. Okay, so we need to take an hour of 40 people's time to explain this thing. We would need full-time people just to do that. It would have so much more burden on the staff, or we'd have to have them all having another day paid but not in work to learn all this stuff every day and have to interrupt their days off, their evenings, their times off. The reality of implementing everyone knowing everything all the time would either be all the staff are a lot more burnout, the service becomes so prohibitively expensive because we need to hire so much more extra team, give the existing team so much more extra time when they're not working with clients to learn all this stuff, that the costs would be astronomical. So we look at other ways, well, how can we achieve some of that without making the costs astronomical? Because then we have to pass that on. We don't want to have to pass that on if we don't have to. We can make a meaningful compromise. And yes, not everyone knows everything about every client all the time, but you're not paying triple the price.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And this system allows us to give a lot more information as and when they need it without staff being burnt out, without jacking the price up to crazy proportions.
Very good.
Yeah.
Happy days.
But, okay, I guess next I'm going to challenge you with a question.
Yes.
What would you like to improve with Bali Beginnings if you could improve one thing slightly?
Okay, that's some reflection there. Right. I think what I would like to improve is actually in the recovery coaches, and it's not necessarily for the team that we have right now, but I would like to have a higher number of recovery coaches on board that can actually, cover up for people that need the break sometimes, or they need to rest and reset. I think it's a very challenging job. It's very difficult, and I would like to have more people on board doing that.
Which
it's
is
a very
actually
honest
what we're
answer.
doing.
Exactly.
Actually what we're doing.
I mean,
I don't know how much of that I've told you, but we're looking to have that extra RC on every day.
I think that is exactly, the ideal outcome that I was thinking about.
We might have to cut that because that seems staged now.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I know.
Sorry.
Yeah, we can do it.
Language.
We can do it again. Well, let's.
I didn't even know I was going to ask that question a couple of minutes ago. So just apologies for putting you on the spot.
No, but that's true though, right? Because how often does that challenge us? To eventually, recovery coaches saying, hey, you know what? Like Matt, for example, right? We don't need to send this. Everything was perfect. It was working, and then one day it was just like, I want to give 1 week notice. It's like, wow, 1 week is really not nothing. But also, what's going on?
Yeah.
Right. And now you have basically a senior recovery coach that is about to leave, and you don't know who's going to cover those shifts in 2 weeks' time, and so on. So, yeah, I don't know if that's an answer. What would I like to improve is to have a reliable number of recovery coaches that are willing to come to work for us. But I think that probably, that is really that is really what we would need.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think that's a bad thing. A lot of people shy away from the hard questions and answers. And actually, we're real. My aim here isn't to bullshit and present a fake picture, because this is real stuff every organization goes through. Guess what? Every organization in the world has people who are sick, who suddenly leave for whatever reason, who you can do all the interviewing in the world, but who does something silly on site and you have to let them go. This is not rehabs, although every rehab will go through this. This is every organization worldwide will experience this if you're around for even a semi-short amount of time subjectively. So
No, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I am happy to say a couple of things. I'm happy to say that I would have answered in a very different way a month ago, because the things that I would have liked back then to improve at Bali Beginnings is definitely the communication between the clinical team and the operational team, which is something that David is currently working on, and he has already worked a lot on that. And I see that the whole process is way smoother. So that's something that has been fixed. Now, a couple of days ago, a recovery coaches called me on Saturday morning, which I find is very beautiful, that there is this level of connection, and told me, I feel some resistance towards the clients that is on both sides, which is authentic. It's honest. I feel they're resisting to me, and I feel that I'm resisting to them. So we have decided to implement mandatory one-on-one sessions with the recovery coaches. Right. And that's, I think it's fantastic. So is
another Bali first.
It's another,
and
exactly.
Sadly, less than 10% of rehabs worldwide do that.
Well, that's expensive, right? You're gonna use the time.
Tell me about it.
Yes. Well, it's.
I'm the one that doesn't sleep at night with all the costs we had. Having already lost my house historically. But yeah, and the other thing we've added, we were gonna wait till we had our 8th bedroom because we like to build sustainably. That's why we don't do my 1,000. Mostly good ideas. Occasionally, you guys tell me some ideas aren't good, but that's okay. My 1,000 good ideas at once, because it's got to be sustainable. Okay, add this cost. Are we surviving? Add this cost. Are we surviving? But I'm very proud to, I guess, announce here for the first time, we're the first rehab on the island to give holiday time, paid holiday, to our staff. We're the first to have all our staff aren't paid per shift. You do 3 shifts, you get paid 3 shifts. We have a salary. All our staff are salaried, have a minimum amount of shifts every month and get paid an amount, which is a full-time amount. They get paid a full-time wage, guaranteed money, which is higher than any other rehab on the island. These are things we're doing to help with the challenges of this work, because the work is very intense. The work is challenging, and that's something I'm actually very proud to admit. And we do that again for the good of the clients.
Definitely. Oh, the good of the clients is the main outcome, the most important outcome. But I'm happy to say that there's no need to improve anything just yet in the regards of the main outcome that are the clients, because the product that we are delivering is very good. The level of engagement in the aftercare, which is a reflection of how the 28 days went, is very good right now. Everybody is attending the sessions, one-on-one sessions, group sessions. We have up to 20 people almost every Thursday, and I think that's really strong.
Yeah. And we do a lot more than just Thursdays,
Oh, yeah.
Also, the people that don't come as frequently as they could, you opened my eyes to something. I remember when we were enhancing it, probably about 2 years ago, you suggested the emergency psychology sessions.
Oh, yeah.
People can attend no extra cost. And we've now made that 2 years. You can get emergency psychology sessions or psychotherapy sessions, no extra cost within the 2 years aftercare. And I was like, that's fantastic. How the flip are we trying not to? How the hell are we going to afford this? This is I love you, Simone, but you're going to bankrupt us.
Yeah.
And you said, no, it's not going to get oversubscribed.
Yeah.
Because just knowing it's there gives people support and comfort. And I'm like, I hope you're right.
Yeah.
I hope you're right.
Yeah.
Squeaky bum time, as we'd say in England.
Absolutely.
And you were right. Who knew? The psychologist was right about human behavior.
Yeah.
Who fucking knew? And not the recovery coach, although now trained counselor, but who knew? The trained professional of the mind was right about human behavior. Well.
Why in the hell? Yeah, and I have to say that they use it sometimes.
They do.
Absolutely.
But I just thought everyone's going to be using it every week, and we're going to have, we're now geez, since COVID reopened, most people come for a month, some for two. We're another 180 clients down since we reopened in 2023. I thought we're going to have 183 people using it every week.
Right. But that's sometimes the fact that they don't use the emergency session is actually a very good indicator that you're not creating a codependent relationship, right? If you work really well in that space and time that is giving for the one-on-one sessions, well, you can feel really intense. But then what you also want to do throughout the months and eventually the years is to work on a sense of agency.
Yes.
The embodiment of a sense of agency. I am developing the tools, I am applying them on a regular basis, and I feel that I've got this, right? Rather than developing a codependent relationship. I need to see my therapist every week, every day, and so on.
And I was there.
Yeah.
I remember being there 14 and a bit years ago when my therapist said, we've done a lot of work. I think we should meet every other week. And I was like,
oh God,
every other week. My God, what am I? No. And then every month. And then the day came, he said, I don't think you need to see me anymore. So I'm going to book a couple more sessions. And it was scary.
It was scary. But just the idea, which is why sometimes having the emergency sessions available is really great. The idea is
it's there still.
I'm going to be there if you need. You have all the tools, but I'm going to be there right now if you need it.
Kind of like a parent teaching his child to ride a bike. Right, stabilizers are off now. We've left rehab, stabilizers are off. You're going to cycle. I'm going to be here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to intervene.
Yeah.
I'm going to be here. But if you want me, I will intervene.
Of course, but that's the regulation itself. Now, this might sound funny, but it's actually very, very correct and makes a lot of sense. There's some people that maybe booked the emergency session, which usually is on Tuesday at 12 Bali time, right? They book the emergency session maybe on Monday at 6 p.m., right? And the emergency session request is followed up by an email saying, Simone, this happened. I'm looking forward to talk to you. And my response is like, sure thing, you have booked. I confirm you're booked in. I talk to you tomorrow. Good.
And that's
and
an emergency.
They show up in the session and they say, well, I'm actually doing so much better. Even just booking the sessions.
The relief.
It's an emotional regulation strategy, right, that you offer right there. Then we can obviously process what happened and give meaning to it, because anxiety decreases as awareness increases. So if we become aware of what really happened and why did that situation trigger you that much in the emergency session, then we have acted. That is called an intervention.
And actually, I can give my own example. I'm not sure if I should or not, but I'm going to anyway, which is always a good way to start.
Yeah.
But so because we've been hiring extra recovery coaches, I've been spending lots of evenings doing interviews, reaching out to people, because we've actually implemented a new training system for recovery coaches to be better, good, better, best. I've been spending a lot of evenings writing policies, or not so much writing, that's a disservice because that's not my skill. Reading, checking, going over, making small amendments or suggestions. But I've spent a lot of time on site still as well, working with, we're trying to refresh, renew the kitchen, build a second kitchen, enhance the nurse's room, progress. I'm a little burnt out, to be honest, which is not, this is a pattern of mine, which I'm working on. I found my balance isn't the same as the conventional, but I'm still working on balance. But I have booked a trip to the next island, Lombok, Thursday to Sunday. And I feel relief just knowing I'm going to have a few days off. 2 days from now? There we are. In 2 days. Just having booked that, I'm like, right, chill. I can dig deep for another couple of days and then I'm going to be recuperating. And just in the same way, knowing that that's coming in 2 days has taken the pressure off. Like, I'm chilled now because I know that's the light at the end of the tunnel. I recognize it. Partly, not necessarily out of necessity because it hasn't been a crisis or a need, but I want to, which probably need to look at that language. I want to improve us. I want to get us there quicker. And now it's good. Now I need to take a rest. But yeah, I guess I was trying to use that analogy of an exact thing for me, where knowing that break is coming, knowing that thing is coming is actually the relief I need. Now,
Absolutely.
obviously, often it has to come. If I know that's coming and then it doesn't come, I need to change my behavior because I can't keep working 10 hours, 12 hours a day and it be sustainable.
Absolutely. Well, with clinical lens here, what I'm hearing is one of the indicator of psychological healing, because I do believe that there are three indicators of psychological healing. Let me put it that way. The first one is that people that are starting to do better, they start to set boundaries. They start to say no. The second indicator of psychological healing is that what used to trigger you or hurt you doesn't have that much power over you anymore. Doesn't have that much power over you anymore. It doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt, but it doesn't control you.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
And then the third indicator of psychological healing, which is what you're talking about, is that mind and body come back in communication, come back into conversation. Because you talked about, for example, burnout, where your body is signaling that. It's telling you you're stressed, you feel it. Maybe that starts affecting your irritability levels, or maybe that affects your sleep. And then you can see why. You know that your body feels that way because you're working a little bit too much, and it's telling you you need a break.
Yeah.
And then your reward network works very well, and then what you're going to do is booking a trip for next week. So I am going to work right now, but I'm sensing that I need a break. My body's telling to my brain, you need to reset. You need to go to an island, which we're very lucky. We live in Indonesia, so there's probably a beautiful remote island next door. You go there and you disconnect for a week. But it's also good that you disconnect knowing that there is a team that has got your back. That if you go for a week, exactly. Because otherwise that would create even more stress.
Yeah.
Because you go to a remote island and you're just wondering, what is going on? Well, no. You know that you can do that. You know that you can trust people.
Yeah. And it comes to, I guess, the kind of bittersweet moment or more of a realization for me is I need to, like that CEO, I need to do less of the work with the clients because I can't do everything.
Of course.
And I don't do a great deal at the minute, but I have to ration my time or I will burn out. And I'm very good at chasing change and progress and things. And I can't do it all. So I need to sacrifice something. And while I love working with the clients more, I absolutely trust you guys and genuinely believe a lot of the people on the team are better than me anyway. Very happy to admit that. But ultimately, if I chase everything, the result will be nothing. And I firmly believe, as we keep sharing on this, possibly been too honest, but there are a lot of problems with this industry, a lot of things that need progress and improvement. And the biggest impact I can make is working on those things, being honest about those things, sharing openly what we're doing to combat those things, to change that things. Because if I can shape us, that's great. I can affect 8, maybe in the future, not in one site, 12, 16, whatever, 20 clients a month. However, like with the 24/7 medical standards we brought in 2017, 2018, we shaped over 50 rehabs. That's thousands of people that we have affected, possibly 100,000. That's hundreds of people every month that are being affected because of our change. That will have saved lives. And that's why I want to be more vocal and honest and share the dirty truth about the industry and share the changes. And I promote other people to do the same, because the more we do this, the more hopefully some people want to level up like us. And hopefully, like with the medical standards, we force other people's hands. It was change or die. If the whole industry didn't bring in medical standards and 24/7 nursing, people were getting left behind because that was too big a change for people not to adapt to. Unless they say we can't treat with, risky clients, which with detox could be the majority. And that's where I see my biggest calling, purpose, passion, change, the biggest impact I can make. So that's the realization. If I want to make that change and keep pushing that agenda, I can't do it if I'm keep working with the clients as well. I have to pick my sacrifice. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right.
Very good, my
Well,
man.
that feels like a good time. I'm not getting a symbol from Dave or him dancing
Yeah.
or anything to
We
wrap
should
it
do it
up.
more often. I
Oh,
really
yeah.
enjoyed this.
Yeah, me too. Me too. You're a natural.
I'm a natural. A natural bodybuilder.
And I am not. But
No,
anyway,
no.
moving swiftly on. Right. Well, thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time. Thank you for
Definitely.
Ula for help hosting our space. I don't know
Yes.
if I should be saying that, but we're in their beautiful space. So I'm going to say it anyway, even if we just send this to them to put on their social media.
Why not?
So, yeah, keep doing the great work you're doing. It's a pleasure
sir.
to work with you.
Yes. It's a pleasure. Likewise. I actually have to go to do therapy now.
Yeah.
Good.